today's a special day for a couple of reasons. A, Mazel Tov to Debbie, and more directly to Keith, who's not here for good reason because he had a baby. What is it? A weekend, like a day ago?
Mm-hmm.
A weekend, a day ago.
Today was the bris?
Girl. And it would have been
Brita.
It would have been yesterday.
It would have been yesterday, yeah.
But anyways, so Simcha
Bracha.
and so shout out to Keith, Mazel Tov to Sarah, Debbie's sister, and to the whole Sayavisi family. I just put your last name on blast for everyone. Anyway, so
not his last name,
right, and to the whole Bonwit family.
There you
Keith,
go.
been outed. So
This is like shul announcements.
so Mazel Tov to Sarah and Keith. Also today we have our guest, and I could actually point to him now because there's a video over there. And so today is a special day because Zach has forced us to do video. I didn't want to do video, and he's like, "I will not come on your podcast unless there's video."
This is true.
And we had a fist fight about it.
And we did.
And
The first time ever.
and then we played basketball
We did.
yesterday. And well, this is not working anymore because I won more of the game. So, but now I said that out loud just to.
But he agreed to
fight.
do video. I
Yeah.
think we're getting off topic. The video is here.
And yeah, so against my will, we are doing video. No, but thank you so much to Zach for helping me get the video started. So B'ezrat Hashem, this will be a new endeavor for Tanach and Tea, though this is the first time since we started that we do not have a sponsor, which is kind of ironic. You would think like when we step up, we have a sponsor. So this episode is brought to you by Tanach and Tea. Yes, so thank you so much to Zach for joining us. We'll talk to Zach in a minute, but before that, I just want to recap what we did last time. We started talking about Shabbat. We did the first two psukim of Perik Bet in Bereshit. We're going to continue with that, but first we're going to have for the very first time Tanach Barbershop Talk brought to you by our guest. He spent a lot of time on the question, spent a lot of time on his answer, so it's going to be very exciting. And also the tea is actually brought by our guest as well. So he's actually pulling his own weight over here. I guess you could say this episode is sponsored by that, you know? So the tea's all the way from Israel, by the way. The green tea from the shuk. I think everybody knows what that is. It's very popular.
Now all of it's green, but
The green and white. Yeah,
little,
we'll
like,
talk about it. Anyways, let's get to the theme song, which, by the way, little known fact, this theme song is actually made by me. A lot of people don't know that. And it's actually a song that I made about Shabbos, and this topic is Shabbos. So I was thinking maybe at the end of the episode, instead of playing the usual theme song, maybe I should put the whole song over there. But I was like, I don't know if I want to do that to myself or not. So to be decided on that. Zach.
I will actually say.
Yes.
One Le'iloi Nishmas. It's going to be a little awkward because I don't know her Hebrew name. But my grandma passed away this morning.
Oh.
Yeah. So didn't expect that, but this should be an aliyah for her neshama.
Amen.
Eileen is her English name. I'm going to be really hitting myself when I remember her Hebrew name.
I'll edit it in after.
Yeah. We'll put it in, just subtitle it.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, absolutely. Her neshama shav and aliyah. And hope everyone's doing okay. So, Zach, usually I lead off the Tanach Barbershop Talk and I give my list and then everyone feeds off of that. But considering you're the one who came up with the idea, I think it's only appropriate that you deliver it. You give us your answers. We'll let you take the floor. And before you do that, you need to tell us, or really tell the camera, tell the people who you are, how you know me, I guess. Whatever you want to share, no pressure. It's not an interview podcast, so
Okay.
whatever you want to tell the people. How you know
So,
the Sayavisi family.
True.
Throw that in as well.
Go back.
A little shout out over there.
Way back. Yeah, also I know that you're own fan. Well, just Tal, but from NC, why way back in the day. So directly now staring into the heart and soul of the audience here. My name is Zach Lenik. I'm from Muncie, and I made Aliyah about 6 years ago, and I am now selling real estate in Israel, selling God's land to people who want to buy a piece of God's land. I think it's a pretty good item. I think no matter what the price, on some level, it's on sale. But on some level, every salesman would say that. So, but yeah, no, I'm really passionate about it.
They should have had you speak to the spies before they went out. You're doing a great job right now.
Yeah, seriously.
None of that would have happened.
I wish, you know what I mean? I'm always thinking, like, if I could have just gotten in the locker room before everybody headed out into that battlefield. But no.
But Moshe Rabbeinu, and now Zach.
Yeah. And I was like, who? Like, don't worry about it. It'll be good.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
So, yeah, I made it into to America, and Josh was actually nice enough. I think I'm the first guest on the podcast who is staying in the studio. That's how committed I am to the game right here. All right.
That's true. He's sleeping on this table.
I'm sleeping on the set. All right.
We keep the lights on and everything.
Dedicated. I wanted to make sure that this was going to turn out the right way. So yeah, I was. I know Josh actually from way back in the day when I was taller than him. That's a lie. That didn't happen. That stopped at 4 years old when he was 3 years old. I met him in Camp Kayetz. Big shout out to Rabbi Polstein and the Zimmerman clan over there. Uri. Awesome camp.
Chicago. Shout out to everyone in Skokie.
Yeah, good stuff.
No shout out to Shirley Prero.
No way.
Color War. I was Color War General and Zach was my captain, and we got beaten Color War by Shirley.
Plus, he was talking smack today.
Yes.
Bold. Didn't know we were getting on camera. That's for sure. Didn't realize this was gonna happen. And then I actually roomed with Debbie's brother Abe in yeshiva for a year, and then I think a part of the next year too. But thank God I've been able to have a good relationship with him as well. This is a question to introduce the Tanach and T. I didn't know I was going to be introducing the question. I'm all nervous now. It got me on set.
It's your question.
But it's a question that I've had many times because a lot of times you read a lot of the stories in Tanakh. For instance, one of the people, but just a good example, Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu, all we know about him is that he married his niece. Then God's talking to him. So I feel like there's something happens, in that in between that I'm kind of curious about. Like what was that? And then especially nowadays, I think it was really like there's a theme right now that's happening throughout shows and stuff to like get into the origin story of the Joker. They do that like 6 times. I feel like every year they come out with a new Joker. So yeah, just was curious about some of the origin stories of some of these people. Like where do they come from? How do they get where they are? How do they, get to the position? We just often find out about these characters after clearly a lot has happened and they've got a lot of these traits, already set. So
to clarify, Tanach Barbershop Talk, origin story of characters from Tanakh. We'll put a poll. For whatever reason, people don't answer the poll. I thought it was a great idea to put a poll on Spotify, and nobody answers it. Baruch Hashem, we get listens.
Do you know why nobody answers it?
But people don't want to put their opinion out there.
That's because they haven't seen your face yet. They're going to see poll numbers are going to be skyrocketing.
So we will put. I'll pick 7 of the choices that we end up ultimately deciding on. Do Spizen, as we call it, and then we'll put the poll on Spotify. Even if you listen on Apple Music, go to Spotify and click on the poll. You don't have to do that, but whatever. Answer the poll on Spotify.
But please. Just one.
Yeah, so Zach.
Okay.
You're a Spizen of people we need to know the origin story in Tanakh. Take it.
So we're going to start, obviously, the one that I just mentioned, Avram Avinu.
Is he your number one?
He is, I feel like, almost the prototypical number one because he's the guy of guys. You know what I mean? He is the ultimate.
First Jew.
The first one somehow discovers God through nature, all by himself, no teacher, him against the world. Not the way that all the rappers are like, everyone, nobody wants to see us together. Nobody cares. Avram Avinu, everybody cared. Everybody on one side of the planet, him on the other. Like, where did he get the kahunas to do that? Very curious about that. And that whole process of just how he was able to go and end up at the same place in halacha that God was intending just by looking at trees. Like what was he looking at that he was able to get there? So Avraham Avinu is definitely definitely the number one, and also the fact that like they throw in almost like a side quest. An army general goes and defeats like 4 nations
Yeah.
to save his nephew.
Just like that. No problem.
Very dedicated. Where's that come from? You know what I mean? I want to see what he went through to go and get to that point. The last thing I'll just mention, which is actually something that I heard from Rav Berkowitz, which I thought was very interesting, because he comes out with this set of fundamental truths that somehow reflect God's set of fundamental truths. And one of them, of course, is the fact that you don't sacrifice your child. And then God told him, okay, but go sacrifice your child. And he was willing to do that, the ultimate test. So just want to understand where he, you know what I mean? All those traits, how that character came to be. So that's one. 2, this also, I think, is just a fascinating character. He's still with us all the time. If you've ever been to a Pesach Seder or a Bris.
He's sleeping upstairs.
Elliot, probably. Could be. He is Santa before, he's as ubiquitous as Santa before Santa was even thought of by Coca-Cola. And maybe he was Pinchas too, right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever a Gilgal is.
He's also like the only human to ever really turn himself into an angel.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's up with that?
Well, Chanoch
Chanoch
also. He became Metat? No. Yeah, Metat.
Memtet. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Didn't know about that one.
Also, his full name, which is the name of a transformer, Metatron.
It's in Greek.
What an
It's like Meta Thronus, something like that. Like Super Throne,
super throne.
something like that.
Anyway, he's actually in a story with Acher, Elisha ben Avuya.
Mhm.
So Eliyahu Hanavi also is one of the most unique characters because it's really like him and God.
And we don't know anything about his origins.
And yeah, where did he come from?
He's
Like,
just a miracle worker.
yeah. And he just, God is like, hey, go there, do that. He's like, okay, like go there, do that. All right.
He's just like low key the greatest prophet like since Moshe. Like he just this guy just has like magical powers.
No, and he also is the weirdest, right? He doesn't even have straightforward powers. You never know. It's like those poorly written superhero characters where they just whip out powers that are super inconsistent all the time. You're like, I didn't know you could just do that. Like, why didn't you just do that before? Like, wasn't an intense situation at all. He doesn't die. And then he shows up now in situations. Anytime somebody helps you and you don't know their name, it was Eliyahu Hanavi. Anytime, like he just is a very weird. Yeah, he dresses up as other people. Like, he could end up in any story at any time, anywhere, looking like anything.
I mean, they sell books called like Stories of Eliyahu Hanavi, and it's always just like random people helping people. And it's like, yeah, here's the story, and he's like, we're giving him credit for everything.
Yeah,
so he's just in his hands everywhere somehow.
No, 100%. And we also say that he'll come back. And then I'm like,
he's gonna introduce Mashiach.
Is he ever gone?
Yeah.
I don't know. So where did he come from? It's almost hard to imagine him as like a child who like, you know what I mean?
If he was ever a child.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's
but
like
he was.
But he was, right? That's the thing. He was a human. And
Yeah.
and then he just walked into the water. God made a whirlwind or whatever, and the rapture. That's what it sounds like. He was just went up to Shemayim, no issue. So very curious about that origin story, how he got the mantle of whatever he is to us nowadays.
Good
as
selection
number
so
2.
far. I like it.
I think we're okay. Number 3. Also, we kind of have a little insight into his backstory, but I'm still very curious about it, which is this week's Parsha, Yisro.
Yeah.
Tried every religion.
Yes.
That's unbelievable. And he's clearly so far above every religion that he has no problem with Amalek and no need to like really connect himself to Bnei Yisrael and just like...
He's just on good terms with everybody.
He literally... How did that come from?
He was a minister
like
of all, apparently. Like,
yeah.
He
was a minister of everything, though. He had like 70 names. He did this, he did that. Like, just a very. And then he also comes in after Moshe has this whole revelation with God, takes him out of Mitzrayim, has the Torah. At least that's how it's presented. And then everybody's asking Moshe the questions, and Yisro's like, "All right, you got to change this up. This doesn't make any sense."
Just establishes the judicial
Who
system.
are you? Yeah, like because you worshipped every false god in the world, you know now how to operate a system where actual God came in, but he does. And he says it was so much like either it's like this or it's not going to work. And Moshe's like, all right, let me change everything now.
He had probably seen every type of civilization at the time and just knew what didn't work.
It must be.
Ha-
Honestly, almost feels like a little like Avram Avinu type of like going in every direction to see what where you hit a wall and like finding, the truth through it all. But did he have a teacher? Did he come from some type of Masorah? Was there like a
Doesn't sound like it, no.
Doesn't sound like it. And
No.
it doesn't seem also like he was a Midyan, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like they carry on the tradition.
Well,
of
His descendants did.
join the Jewish people. Like they were like an additional tribe living in Israel.
When?
Um,
Way later. But we had problems with Midyan many times. At least with Pinchas.
no, I'm not
back to
saying
that.
Midian as a whole. Like he had a specific,
Ah,
he had a
okay.
specific group of descendants who were converts to Judaism, but didn't join the other tribes. They lived
Kenites, right?
Kenites. They were
Yeah.
called, yeah, and they lived on their own. And the story with Yael, she, I believe, is from them. I believe,
Yes.
right? So Yael, the reason why she was able to kill him, who was his name? Yeah. So the reason why she was able to kill Sisera is because he wasn't fully bought in that he was against her, because like they were like a sister tribe, so to speak.
Mm.
So they're not directly Bnei Yisrael, even though I think at this point they morphed into Bnei Yisrael the same way. We don't know what tribe anyone comes from, but when we did, they were not there weren't just 12 tribes. There was a convert tribe, essentially.
There was a migrant population.
And they were on good terms with everybody, so that's why.
And they were nomads. They lived in tents. They didn't live in a spot like the rest of the Shvatim who lived in a specific location. They lived in tents. They moved around, which is what she used to kill him. Right? She used the pick of her tent. After
a gangster.
Yeah. By the way, they don't teach.
By the way,
that
Yael's
stuff.
in my honorable mentions
Yeah.
list. So Yisro, fascinating character. Next one, another one of these huge pickups for Klal Yisrael, Tamar.
So good.
Where does she come from? How does she know about Yibum better than any Jew
There's an
did?
opinion that she's the daughter of Shem, by the way.
Yeah.
So it can't be the daughter. There's a lot of generations in between those two.
But Shem's still alive.
Shame lived till he was like 900 something. Yeah.
So he taught. Remember, Yaakov was in his yeshiva.
So this is a daughter he had at 850?
Possibly, meaning she could be because I teach this to my students, and when I told them the daughter of Shem, and they knew that Yehuda just had a kid, they're like, "Whoa!" They're like, "She's like 800, and he's like 10, like whatever." And I was like, "Well, he's still alive, so like Shem, she could also be 10. She could be even younger. Like he's."
By the way, it's one thing living till 900. It's another being potent till 900. That's unbelievable.
I mean, I think people didn't get sick before they died back then.
Yeah, that's
Let's
right.
start with
Yitzchak. I believe.
Yitzchak. So then he
Shem-
lived through that, but he was before it.
He's
But
before. Yeah, so that means Shem was like a 25-year-old man the whole time.
they're saying she's a direct like her.
So there's an opinion
his
that
daughter?
There's three opinions. One opinion is that he's literally her daughter, which is why when Yehuda at the end of the story says to burn her, which is an excessive punishment for what she did, the reason why is because you can burn a woman for adultery if she's a Bas Kohen, and Shem is technically a Kohen, because who does the Kahuna run through?
Melchizedek.
It runs through Shem, through Avraham, through Yitzchak, through Yaakov, and then it goes into Levi. But until then, Avraham is a Kohen, Yitzchak is a Kohen, right? Each of the Avos hold the Malchus, the Kahuna, all in one package, and then it separates by the Shvatim. Which, if she's a daughter of Shem, that would explain that.
Wait,
There's-
but then all of the Shvatim are Kohanim?
No, that's
They're
when
all
it
the
separates.
son of a Kohen. Okay.
That's when it separates. Meaning, what did Yaakov purchase from Esav? It was the Kahuna that Esav didn't want to do the Karbanos in the Beis Hamikdash. He's like, I don't need that, right? Part of being the Bukhari until Reuven moved to bed, and also the Egel Azav, which is when another time like Bukharim lost their status.
Every single Bechor lost his status.
Right.
Yes.
Gracious.
Right.
Every single one.
So it used to be that, the Bukhar was all inclusive.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Bechor, the Malchus, and the Kahuna.
But yeah, Tamar's a great choice though.
Yeah.
But yeah, she could be a daughter of Shem. She could be just a descendant of Shem, and there's an opinion that she's just not related to Shem, and we don't know who she is at all.
So, either way, how
Either way,
did
we
he
don't
have
know anything about
such?
her.
How did he have such a stronger understanding of Yibum which is like the one thing that always leads to Mashiach. Like
Before the
where did
Torah
she
comes
get-
out.
Yeah, so where did she get that from? That's
So-
crazy.
It used to be, apparently, the Mamlez actually says that Yibum was a thing in the ancient world. That it's not just sourced in Torah. That
Really?
before Torah, this was a concept to do Yibum with brother-in-law, with the father-in-law, like to do Yibum, like
common
non-Jews.
practice.
Like it was a practice of the day, and he actually writes that Yehuda was the first person to do it l'shem shemayim.
Well, yeah.
Meaning, like Yehuda was the first, like meaning he wasn't the first person to do it.
Well, he didn't do it l'shem shemayim.
Well, he did.
He did it l'shem
He
shemayim.
did, but in the end, he did also.
In the end.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Yibum is not valid if you don't do it l'shem shemayim. If you do it with
Right.
purposes
The
of
Yevamot
sexual
goes-
desire, then you're actually chayiv kares, and that's why we don't do it anymore. It's way too risky.
yeah.
So it's like you're either married or you're gonna die.
But it's also the two instances of Yibum that we actually have in Tanakh are not halachic Yibum at all. Neither of them have any halachic bearing
Right.
because it's not the brothers, and it
Yeah.
doesn't go up or anything like that. But yeah, so Tamar I thought was a
Great one.
just a very fascinating.
I want to see. I have one guy that I'm hanging on to. I want to see if you're gonna say it.
All right, next one I have is Yonah.
Mm.
We have a little bit of
Where
an origin story.
what?
He's the boy that Eliyahu brought back to life. You know the story with Eliyahu. Where he
Okay.
stays by this woman, and so I don't know
That's
who says
Yonah?
it.
The boy who
The
lived.
boy is Yonah. Yeah,
The boy who lived.
The
The boy
boy
who
is
came
Yonah.
back.
yeah.
That would be the name
So we know his
of
mother.
the origin story.
Yeah, so we know his mother. We know his mother's like a really righteous woman who takes care of Eliyahu and
Yeah, who makes the
miracle
first
there.
Yechidat Dior, which is like when you siphon off a part of your house, rent it out,
Mm.
whatever. You give him that attic.
So
Israeli reference.
yeah.
Got to know the crowd.
All right, what else you got?
Okay.
Double Dasan Va'aviram.
Oh.
The biggest question with Dasan Va'aviram is just how do they make it that far? There was like so many instances to get off the train, and they managed to make it out of Mitzrayim. Apparently, a very small number even did that.
Right, 20.
Then they make it through the Egel Azav. They make it through the Slav. They make it through so many things all the way to Korach. And finally, they choose a hill to die on. But like,
And they were the cause of a lot of those things,
yeah,
or they're very
Just-
directly involved.
the inner.
They gave Moshe a hard time in Egypt. Like they were the snitches. Like
Yeah.
So I could tell.
And also, every time it says that there was a problem, Chazal is immediately like, that's Dasan Va'aviram. Right there?
Yeah.
yes.
Every time it's
Shave
problem.
Reuven, by the way.
What?
Shave
Yes.
Reuven. I don't know. I'm just starting
Yes.
Reuven under the bus, but
No, but that was the whole thing with Korach because they thought we're all,
yeah.
kadosh.
But anyways, once you're bringing it up, I saw in the Mamlas that I don't know who he was quoting, but Moshe is taken to task for Dasan and Aviram.
One more time.
Moshe is taken to task for Dasan and Aviram as a leader, meaning what Moshe was.
How he handled them.
He had too much mercy for them, and the example that's given is sometimes you look at it like, oh, have mercy, but you're actually hurting everyone else. So look at it as like
Having mercy on them.
no, look at it as like a disease in the body. Like if someone has a virus in their hand, right? So you might say, okay, we want to save the hand. So that's Moshe. He constantly wanted to save the hand, save Dasan and Aviram, but then it's going to spread throughout the body. So he should have chopped off the hand when he had the chance, and he essentially let it spread to the shoulder and then to the So
By the
so
way,
he's
that
taking-
idea.
and that's the difference that David HaMelech had. That David HaMelech.
You love
knew-
this. This is your favorite theme.
Yeah, but
It's like-
this is what he quotes this what made David HaMelech was that he just had this perfect balance of there are times when he has like remarkable cruelty, it seems like, and times when he has remarkable mercy, and sometimes it's hard to parse out like why is he being here, why is he being there, and he seems to have had like a really good understanding of when to chop the arm off, and Moshe actually struggled from that. Moshe had too much mercy, which is a Jewish trait, too much.
He also had no
If he had non-Jewish
national leader to look at. Right, there wasn't a nation before. He was also the first nation, so
Right.
he was also navigating a bit of a new water. I think it's actually something that societally we're dealing with because you see it in a lot of the movies. They don't know how to kill the villain anymore, right? Every time they get there, they're finally ready to kill this mass murderer, and they're like, "If I do it, then I'm you." It's like,
Right.
no,
That's like
you're
Batman.
not. You're
That's a
good.
Batman.
Kill him.
You gotta kill him.
You gotta
But by
kill
the way,
him.
I think
He's gonna kill you if
know,
he gets the chance.
you
You
get on
gotta
a
kill
serious
him.
topic. I think this is one of the main differences between Judaism and Christianity. I think one of the things that Christianity preaches is like love your enemy and whatever. And in Judaism, we don't really believe in that. Like we believe in like if someone is deserving of death, right? Like if someone is a mass murderer or whatever, you don't love them. Your job is actually to cut off the hand. You can't let them go on in this world and cause more evil and cause more damage. It's not a Jewish trait to just have uncompromising mercy. It's actually a lack of value at some point.
For sure.
And at the same time, we're actually told that if you have too much mercy in one scenario and you become out of balance, you will have too much cruelty in another scenario. And that's the famous thing of Shaul HaMelech, that he had too much mercy on Amalek, and therefore he was willing to kill out a city of Kahana. Meaning, if you, and I think you see this nowadays.
You see this nowadays, are you kidding
culture,
me?
very much so, that you see people who are unspeakably cruel, who are also like
Unspeakably
tolerant of certain things. And it's like, it makes sense. If you're going to be super tolerant when you shouldn't be, cruelty will show up to protect that tolerance.
Right.
So they say, Achzarim al Rachmanim.
So
And that's for sure the case.
I don't know how we got off
how you
topic,
get
but-
anybody's support.
Oh, Dustin and Aviram, yes.
Yeah, so Dustin
Top off the
Aviram-
Dustin Aviram in your life.
You gotta let it go. You do. Okay. And then I've got one more who's like the ultimate in my opinion. And then I have just two other like very quick lists that I was like interested in. And that's Bilam. Where? How? Right? Lo come the
Well, they say that he was an
Shuk-
advisor
Shuk-
to Paro and like all that.
No, we know that about him, but how did a man without any Masorah?
I want to know about his donkey. I want the origin story on the donkey.
Yeah, so also
I
the
imagine
fact
him
that
as, from Shrek.
yeah,
Every time I read that parsha, I see who plays him.
Waffle no,
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. I hear that voice. When I'm reading the psukim.
A Hebrew speaking Eddie Murphy.
yeah, if you be speaking any movie. So
Ellie Murphy.
yeah,
Ellie Murphy.
Ellie, yeah.
Ellie Murphy Tzion. We gotta-
No, but it says we say that lo kam Yisrael kamosha od navi umabira to like no navi like Moshe ever. Yeah, in Yisrael, but outside of Yisrael it was Bilam, and Bilam thought that he should get the Torah, and Bilam has even greater nevuah than Moshe because he, you know what I mean, and he's also sleeping with his donkey, and he's a hired mercenary across the planet, and it's there's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah which says that all the nations at the end of time come to Hashem and they want to collect reward for the Torah. So you say, what part did you play in the Torah? So they go through a bunch of things, but one of the things they say is, well, you never gave us a Navi like Moshe. And he says, yes, I did. I gave you Bilam. And then how did he even represent all the nations? Right? He was a part of one nation. So in what way is he, like, how does he have all of those components out of nowhere? We just meet him like a late side quest character that you're like, oh, like this guy was also, causing waves in the world and we had no idea about it. In like the second season, they bring back like a new bigger villain that you didn't know about for some reason. Like, how is he that without any type of background? I don't know of any.
Just shows up.
Just shows up out of nowhere. And then he doesn't even, his donkey starts talking to him. And his first question is not, oh my gosh, my donkey is talking to me. He's like, I'm hitting you because you're not moving. Like, he just jumps right into it.
Yeah, he was
So-
prepared for his donkey to speak.
Yeah. He also has an interesting contrast with Avram Avinu, but
Was that your
Whatever.
seventh? That was.
that was number 7.
All right. So before you go into your just misses, we'll see if we'll give ours not full list. I don't know if you have a full list. I'll throw one out that I thought of, and your list was great. But for me, one person I was holding on to, I wanted to see if you would say him, is Aaron, because in the story, we know Moshe as a baby, like we know Moshe grows up in the palace. We actually know a decent amount about Moshe's upbringing, and then Hashem just tells Moshe like Aaron's on his way here, like to meet you, like don't worry. And it's like, okay, how was he raised? Like, what happened in his life? Like, we know nothing about it. You just like your amazing brother Aaron is on his way. Like, how is he on his all these things that go unanswered about Aaron.
He said that Hashem told him, right, to go?
Right, Hashem told him to go.
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah.
we don't get that conversation.
Yeah.
We just Aaron apparently is having a burning bush moment where it's like he gets prophecy somewhere and just like, man, we're not gonna.
He just knows what to do. He just understands the assignment.
Yeah.
He is, by the way, the ultimate supporting cast. He would be like win the Grammy every year for
Yeah. And we're actually told that the Jews had a better relationship with Aaron than with Moshe, and nobody's ever been mourned like Aaron. The point that the day
Everyone loved him.
that Rosh Chodesh Av is given in the Torah, and meaning, but like when you read the Torah, and you're hearing about our time in the desert, the strongest relationship of the time and the leader of the people is actually Aaron, Moshe is the intermediary with Hashem, and they rule together. But Aaron is kind of like the de facto ruler, the face to the people. But that doesn't really come across when you read the Torah. So he's just like this silent who ends up building the house of Kahanim, who's like a main source, and like the Kohen Gadol. So on one end he's very loud, but on the other end he's very silent. Who's also super involved in the Egel Hazav, but at the same time, like not taken to task. Like it's just like, who are you and what's going on? Like we know, like just like
fascinating.
the ultimate sidekick who's not the sidekick. Like so,
Yeah.
So what's happening there? And we know nothing about his origin story.
Well, we know that he's the son of Amram.
We know his family.
Who was the leader of the
Right.
generation.
He's just like by the way, he's Moshe's brother.
Yeah. No, we also know that he didn't go through slavery.
None of Levi did.
Cohen. What?
None of Levi did.
Yeah. I was saying.
Right. We know that, yeah.
But that is all.
Yeah.
And then he was like, and it's crazy even that you think about it, like you say all those facts, that Moshe was the most humble. Like just from that alone, I feel like Aaron definitely has a case in that. Like how did he?
Well, they do say Moshe and Aaron were equal.
No, but they also say that Aaron was the first one to be like a really good brother. Oh no, they say Ephraim and
That's
Menashe.
Menashe.
Yeah, but
Menashe.
Yeah. But Aaron did a pretty good job, I'd say.
yeah, no,
Good brother to everyone.
Yeah,
Nation.
unbelievable.
You know?
He was able to take all that fire of Moshe and actually give it to the people in a way they could hear it.
Yeah. By the way, there's an amazing medrash that speaking of that, which is after Miriam. I don't know if it's a medrash actually. I just know the Melmelo said it, and I don't know who he's quoting. But after Miriam dies, the water stops, right? Because Miriam was the source of the water. So the people get very frustrated, and they're on the way. Moshe and Aaron, like have their own space, and Moshe and Aaron are chilling, and the people like are showing up in huge numbers to them, and Moshe goes, "Oh, what do you think's going on?" So Aaron says, like, what do you mean? They're on their way to cheer us, to like, comfort us for Miriam dying. And Moshe goes, no, they're on their way to complain about water. And I could tell by the way they're moving. And Aaron's like, nah, I think they're on. But it's just like, you see the difference in them. Like Aaron just sees pure love, like from them. And Moshe's like, they're on their way to complain.
Been here before.
Yeah. And then when the people show up, they only complain towards Moshe. They couldn't bear to actually direct a complaint against Aaron. They would never go against Aaron. Even though Aaron was the same leader as Moshe, they only complain to Moshe. They don't complain to him. So it's very interesting.
But I also think that it's because Aaron was kind of like that. He didn't really rebuke them either. He didn't really give them like the tough love that like Moshe did. Moshe was like, hey, you guys are being stupid, right?
Well, that's what I needed. Yeah, both of them.
And Aaron was like, he was just too scared to tell them don't build the Egel HaZahav. I think that he got away with it because he didn't actually pray to it himself. He didn't want to do it himself, but he just couldn't. Like,
Well, I think that story is almost like the pinnacle of his willingness to be with the people. Like, better they sin like this than they kill me
He was also
and
stalked
have
for-
no type of kapara. Well, he tried, but it didn't work in the end. But the fact that he was willing to actually go through with it, he'd rather get in the boat with them in a sin than have them kill him and have no way of having kapara.
Should I spoil Tanach and T episode number 400?
go for it.
Yep.
If there
No, wait. Everyone's being held in suspense. 400, I heard, is a special episode.
No, I mean, what you're the tree
Josh
that you're barking up.
42 is gonna come and
The tree
look back
that
at
tree
this.
that you're barking up right now is why were Moshe and Aaron not led into Israel, and is it really because Moshe hit the rock? And there's an answer that's like an amazing answer, but tune in for the next 389 episodes.
You
So-
spoiled it. I cannot. I'm so mad. No, I'm not watching now. I already know what's happening at the
All
end.
right, I'll throw the answer out now because by then there'll be so many more people who will listen. So, So, but pretty much, the big question on it's so off topic. We're not even discussing Shabbos.
You're ruining it for your OG audience over
Yeah.
here.
So the big question is we're really not letting Moshe into Israel because he hit the rock. And I know it's like the classic answer of like, Hashem is more exact, with this tzaddikim, but it kind of makes Hashem look really bad. You know what I mean? Like at face value, it's like, this is your guy who's done selfless leader, like your Eved, who's done everything for you. And like, you could make the opposite case, be less exact, in a situation like this. And also, Aaron doesn't hit the rock, and Aaron gets the punishment of not going into Israel as well. Everyone always glosses over that. Like, Aaron's right there, not hitting the rock, and you're not getting in too. That makes Hashem look even worse. Like, and your brother's not getting in. Like, whoa, dude, I didn't do anything. Like, he hit it, not me. Like, what's going on? So the Mamlez has like, an amazing answer, which is that this is not why they're not being led into Israel. It's made up by Hashem. It's what you would call in basketball a make-up whistle. You know when you miss a call, and on a legit foul, and then on the next foul it's like ticky-tack, and the ref blows the whistle, right? But really, in the spirit of the game, it's the correct call. So that's what's happening here. So what's happening here is that Moshe and Aaron are the leaders of the people, and both of them have a very major event happen on their record. The number one thing that they're really known for as leaders, which is for Aaron, it's the Egel Azav, and Moshe, it's the sin of the spies. Now, both of them did not actually do anything wrong, but if you look at them as leaders, it's their actions that led to the people sinning. Had Moshe not sent spies in, that whole debacle doesn't happen. Had Aaron not allowed the Egel Azav to, all that, to formulate and, his role in that, then the Egel Azav doesn't happen. Now, both of them are not actually doing the sin, but as leaders, sometimes you go down with the ship. You're the captain of the ship, and you call decisions, and then the people mess up, the ship sinks, you don't get to make it to the land. So that's the real reason why Moshe doesn't make it, meaning he goes down with his generation. He goes down as the leader. We know that leaders, they die early. The stress of being a leader, you hold, they say tzaddikim will die for the sake of the generation. How is that fair? The leader of the people doesn't only have his own sins on his shoulder, and especially over here, it's their call that led to the people messing up. But out of respect for them, because they didn't actually sin, Moshe is not going to be looped into the sin of the spies. Aaron's not going to be looped into the Egel Azav. Hashem is never going to insinuate that they did something wrong there, because those were terrible sins that those people did. Like, literally, the Tish B'Av sin, it's like the OG, it's the two biggest sins in our record. Hashem is not going to put Moshe and Aaron in those sins, even though as leaders they're responsible for it, but as people they are not. So therefore, Hashem doesn't say anything, but they don't get to go into the land of Israel. They go down with the ship. So Hashem is waiting for something small to blow the whistle and say, this is why you're not going into Israel. You're such a big tzaddik, something small. But essentially hitting the rock as a make-up whistle by
That's a fascinating take right there.
I've heard another take on it, is that, I think I read this somewhere, that you can't have, because Moshe was looked at, there was no one as great as him and Aaron. So you can't, the problem is if they were to go to Israel with them, who would replace them? So they needed someone like Yoshua, who was like a man like them at common ground, to kind of snap them back into reality of saying, okay, now we're going to Israel. Now we're going to have to actually work hard. And in a sense, it was actually better that Yoshua lead them into Israel than Moshe and Aaron, because they were too great. It's kind of like a basketball player who, or it's kind of like a president who's just been in office for too long. And if he were to die once they're already in Israel, then
They wouldn't know how to bridge the
they
gap.
wouldn't know how to bridge the gap, because they're saying, okay, now we're in Israel and we need to actually be like more politics, and now miracles aren't involved as much, right? So like, what are you going to do?
You see, you can't have a Moshe and not an open miracle type of...
Correct.
There's also the concept of like a peacetime president, wartime president. Like, different leaders have different. I mean, you see this with David. He literally could not be a peacetime president, right? Hashem told him, no, your son Shlomo, it's in his name. Like, he's the peacetime guy. You're the wartime guy to hand him a perfect kingdom for him to do that. So there is this concept of like, even if you don't deserve it, like David didn't do anything wrong,
Right.
not to be
Winston Churchill's also a great...
of like a perfect wartime.
He's a wartime, not a peacetime.
Right.
Right.
So meaning Hashem just has different roles for them that's just above them, right? So that's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's good. Not necessarily mutually exclusive with what I say. No.
Okay.
Right. It's all both
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
So Aaron was your...
Aaron's my big guy over here.
So who else do you have?
I like your list. I also didn't put too much thought into it. I wanted to because anyways, we're at 47 minutes into recording,
Schmeist.
and we didn't even start the actual content of the episode.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just gonna like leave it here. But I'm just gonna throw my hat on Aaron as my main guy over here. So I'll allow Or and Debbie to, if they have anyone they want to throw in over here.
So I'm I'm very glad that mine actually wasn't picked.
Nice.
So there were two. I'm gonna give you my second one, and why I didn't put him first. So there was Avraham was my second one, but I actually read certain midrashim on him that kind of explain his origin story in a way.
With the like whacking the idols.
Yeah, like how
And,
when he
gifts
was
of
a
age?
kid, he would like every customer that would come into the store, he'd be like, "Why do you want to buy this idol?" And he would kind of like outsmart them and tell them like or like he would smash the idol, and then his dad would come in and he'd be like, "Who smashed it?" And then Avraham would be like, that idol smashed it."
Yeah, you
And-
put the
Yeah.
hammer in the biggest idol's hands.
right. And then he'd be like, his own dad would be like, "That's impossible." And then he'd be like, "Exactly."
Yeah, why are you worshiping him if you can't even do it?
Right. So I did kind of get
I
in a
still think though that
No, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you. Of course,
like,
of course. He's not officially written in there, but my number one actually, and countering to what you say, is Moshe. Because for someone who's the greatest leader, you really don't know much about him. I mean, like I think a common opinion, like the Rambam says that he was about, check my source, but he was about 20 when the incident happened with
Mitzri?
I thought it was 40. It was like 40 in, then 40 out, and then
so
40
that's
at
the thing.
end.
Apparently not. Apparently he was like 20 when he killed the Egyptian, and then he runs away. And then like he's in Midian for 40 years, right? But what happens for like another 20? Some say he was there for 40, others say
He was a
Midian for, like,
general, he
20.
was a king.
King, yeah, the king.
Yeah, it was a king.
He has a whole other career as a leader of a
A whole other, yeah. I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
Like we're his second wife.
Literally.
Also, he grew up in Paro's house.
Yeah, and it's not
Wildly
mentioned.
powerful Jewish identity. Where did that even?
How do you not? You know, I literally ask, I'm like, he had access to everything. Like, what was he doing all day? Was he like friends with Ramses? I mean, it's not like, was it like a Prince of Egypt thing?
Exactly what I
Or
was thinking.
him and
that movie
Ramses are-
ruins. By the way, movies like that ruin your ability to see Tanakh
right.
because they you know what it's like when you watch the movie and that's not an accurate portrayal.
They ruin every book.
Yeah.
Not even.
They ruin a book
Ah.
and then Tanakh is like literally like in like they just once they pick a route and now it's like cemented like that in your head. It's like kind of crazy.
Yeah. And like,
They really ruin Aaron, by the way. If you watch The Prince of Egypt, they have Aaron as like this like salty character on the side the whole time. I'm like,
yeah, he's like
I'm like, if
bittersweet.
he has even open like a
Yeah, but I am into the way they did Yisro. That
Yes,
song,
yes.
The Eyes of God.
Amazing.
Wow, I put that on sometime for a drive.
By the way, did you know they have a
Great
Yosef one for The Prince of Egypt? Those I never watched it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Haymakers. How
Yeah.
That was, I think that is actually more lore accurate, if I had to guess, than like the other.
we'll have to
Called
watch
Joseph
that.
in the Dreams or something.
We'll
Joseph
do a
King
live
Dreams.
stream.
Yeah.
Back. This is very you know live
But-
stream of us
Yeah.
watching.
With pauses and commentary.
Literally.
I think there's a secondary component with Moshe Dafka where you also get to see the ultimate character arc of where he started from, Lo Ish Devarim Anochi, to the man who writes an entire book of Devarim. Like he finds his words and he finds his identity and he's, becomes the leader. I
Right.
think there's that layer like as well.
Like he got better as he did, clearly. I mean, he clearly.
But I think that's also why it's focused that he's called Ish Moshe, because that is the archetypical struggle of man, that he also somehow went through it, even though he's talking to God and he's just him and God, and
Also,
he has
I think
no shaykhs
that's
to man.
also important because other religions take their main, the main guy and
deify him.
yeah, deify him. So I think the Torah makes a real effort to tell you, Moshe, Mashiach, flesh and bones,
Yeah,
closer to us than
than to God.
without even a conversation. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
like me and Moshe have more in common, which is a crazy thing to say, but like then
Brian Scalabrine is closer to LeBron than we are to him, right?
right, exactly.
there you go.
Yeah. So you just call Brian Scalabrine Moshe, and you call LeBron God.
Wow, lehavdil.
Yeah,
Lehavdil.
Anyways, Debbie, do you have
I have one.
yes.
So I just wanted to make a comment on Yitro because I had him as one of them. And given that it's the parsha of this week, Yitro, Rashi says 3 times that he has 7 names. And they say also that there's 7 names for the Yetzer Hara. And so a question would be, because they even say that the chronology of this Parsha, the Yitro episode might have happened even after. But why is it like placed here right before we get the 10 commandments? And so what it's kind of showing us with the 7 names is that Yitro is able to combat the 7 levels of the Yetzer Hara, and each name that he gets is kind of combating each of those levels. And Yitro is like the manifestation of the ultimate good that can happen. How do you do that? With the Torah. So they show us the character of Yitro, which is so interesting and so amazing, as the pretext to us getting the 10 commandments. And on the other hand, there's 7 names of Gehinnom. So if you don't go that route, kind of that's how the Yetzer Hara leads you. So I just wanted to make that point, just because like I had Yitro also.
Yes.
The person I chose is Serach, the daughter of Asher.
Nice.
And I think I cheated a little bit because it's all based on the Midrash. But the reason I chose her is because she apparently is the longest living person that we know. And the 2 Midrash that I read about her and then moving forward is that she is the person that told Yaakov that Yosef was alive. The brothers come back from Egypt to Canaan and they're like confused on how to say it. And they go to Serach, and she goes to Yaakov and goes with a harp and like sings to him like really beautifully. And he says like, Yosef, my uncle, is not dead. He's in Egypt and he's ruling. And he says it over and she says it over and over to him. And he's able to like very gently get that message. And because of that, she's gifted this very long life. And the second midrash is from last week from Beshalach. So I just want to, on the point on Moshe, I just want to say, like, for me, Moshe is the ultimate person. And one of the ways that I see that is in the Parsha, when Moshe gets the bones of Yosef, right? Everyone is getting ready to go. And what is Moshe focusing on? Moshe is literally looking for the bones of Yosef all day, all night. And the Midrash says that he's like looking and going, like really trying to find. And he sees this old woman who ends up being Serach. And he asks her, he's like, do you know where Yosef is buried? And she's like, yeah. And she shows him and he does a prayer, or, you know, there's several things in the Midrash that he does. And he's able to get Yosef. And so this person, and I checked the source before I said it, she is in the 70 people that go down from from Canaan to Egypt. She is in the people that leave Egypt into the desert. She is in the people in Bamidbar. That is in the text saying that she goes into the land. And they say also that she appears in David, and she doesn't die until the 9th century. So I chose her because I feel like I can go through all of history.
Origin story. If you take it on like basis of life.
Origin story of Genesis, 1914.
Exactly.
Like it's 100 years. Story is like 20 years. Her origin story is like.
Oh, but the last thing, by the way, apparently she never died. She was taken into heaven just like Eliab.
Right.
So I'm gonna.
By the way, what I find fascinating is like in all the stories of Tanakh, then if she's just hanging around all the time and she's like this oracle, you know what I mean? Then why is it not like the first place everyone's turning to in every story in Tanakh?
Yeah.
Like she's like, you have Serach around, like.
By the way, sometimes these midrashim, like they say these things, and you're just like, that feels like it would impact all of the psukim.
Yeah.
Like just rewrite a Torah with her.
Like if you're a Moshe Rabbeinu, the first place you go to is Serach for anything.
What's he even sleeping on?
Yeah. By the way, just that sparked. I did think about this earlier that I forgot to say, but for me, all of the Shvatim would be on the list.
Yeah.
We hear Yosef. We get this one story of Yehuda, and all the other Shvatim, their lives come and go, and we're like, this is like.
We know
You're from Shevet Yisachar. Like these are like the people we base, like, you know what I mean? Like you're from Shevet Binyamin. Like whoa, like
all we have is the brachos.
And we just have like the brachos.
Yeah, we
and,
have
like
like
Moshe's at the end to like the nation, and we have like to Yaakov, and we know Shimon and Levi are kind of crazy, like you know Yehuda, we have his story with Tamar, and Yosef we know like his Yosef we have a decent amount on, but like what was Naphtali doing?
Apparently he was a fast runner.
Apparently that's how we know. Like
There we go.
Fast.
There we go. Where was he? He was on the track. Origin story over. Where was Villain's was on the ships.
Yeah, exactly.
Where was Yisachar? He was learning.
Yeah, and that's all we know. So for me, like all of the Shvatim.
Super one-dimensional characters without an origin story.
Yeah. And then also, the ones that are not even mentioned, there's all this midrashim that you have the daughters of Yaakov, that each one was born with a twin.
And I married them?
No, well, and marry them but when Yaakov is mourning Yosef, the pasuk says, all of his sons and daughters came to mourn him. And everyone's like, whoa, daughters? And it's like, yeah, well, they all had twin sisters, but Benjamin actually had 2. And it's like, whoa, he had 26 children? Like, or 25 if Yosef didn't have a twin and it was Dinah. Who are they? What are they doing? Like, you don't even get their names. So, daughters daughters of Yaakov. They're literally base Yaakov.
Yeah.
And we do not know their names, nothing about their lives. Potentially married to the half
Potentially
sibling.
married, yeah. And if they're not the ones married, who are the wives?
Yeah, so they're on my list. So we're way past 7 now, but I don't know if you have any that you want to throw out
run
real
through
quick.
real
Or
quick.
We're an hour into it, and we've not even done new material. Welcome to Tanach. This is
Yeah.
why it's gonna take us a long time. To finish
Yeah,
Tanakh,
seriously.
But it's gonna be geschmack because I don't know what else I'm gonna do after that. So like,
So I'll just say Rachav, I think is an interesting
Yes.
one because although that would be like a rated R one, you know what I mean? She's running a funny house there, but she also has the ability to go and like recognize when the Jews are going to come and ends up marrying Yoshua. So
Some
she's
other
clearly
things
got,
and it's like,
yeah, she's clearly got something very deep inside of her and is capable of, acting on it. And the other one is Kalev.
Oh,
Nice.
I like that one.
How is
nothing
he?
about him, and he's married
Nothing
to
about him, and then he's
spy, super great.
yeah, like the best spy.
Your secondary list might be better than
Well, he's written more in Navi. Like, I mean, he's written more about in Navi.
but not really.
Like
No,
just taking
no,
over.
That's not the origin.
It's not the origin.
That's what I'm saying. The origin. How did he get there? We just start, and he's one of the 12 spies, and we know about Yoshua a little bit. He's one of the 12. Like this other guy was also just amazing, and he didn't even need his name changed with the extra hey in order.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't. That's what I'm saying. He was able to do it.
At the Mersa Machpelah.
He was able to do it all by himself. So Kalev, and then I wrote down a few where we do know their stories, but I just want to watch it. Which was
That's all of it.
Yeah, Daniel, Shimshon, Yosef, Yoshua, Nebuchadnezzar, Korach, and Shlomo.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see him
Do their thing.
in action.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Yeah.
Shlomo would be a crazy story.
yeah, Shlomo.
Shlomo would be like
ultimate.
unbelievable.
Just yeah,
Like, who is this guy?
crushed it. He knew. Yeah.
Now that we finished our hour-long segment on Tanach Barbershop Talk, which I think that was like really an amazing.
Barbershop,
very
we're all
geschmack
bald by
Tanach
now.
Barbershop Talk, or TBS as we call it here.
TBS.
So, anyways, thank you.
Oh, this is icy at this point. Just without ice.
It still got some heat. So we have one pasuk left to Shabbos. We're in pasuk Gimel in Perek Bet in Bereshit, and I was gonna go through that pasuk, and then I have this talk that I do on Shabbos. It's like I don't know where it came from. Hashem just gave it to me. I don't know. Like, I hope it's MS, but I have this talk where I call it Freedom from Freedom, and it's about Shabbos, and I tell it to my students, and it's a big success. Helps people enhance their Shabbos. I know I definitely told it to Or Deb. Have you heard that one before?
I think so.
But we don't have so much time, and I think I'm gonna just do this pasuk. And anyways, we have Dovi Newberger coming on next time. Spoiler alert.
Whoops.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna can it and save it for that one. So Zach, I'm sorry to do that to you, but we ran out of time.
I'll watch the episode.
Yeah, just watch the episode. We're gonna
We have to.
because we have to do one pasuk, meaning that one's like my own thing,
Yeah.
and then we're just gonna have an episode where we didn't actually do Tanakh, like an actual
We did Tanakh adjacent type.
yeah,
bits.
right. We did very kosher bittul Torah for By the way, with Abe, me and Abe and Keith, we learn once a week. We do Hilchos Shabbos together. We do a Zoom, and we always joke that like we have like an hour that we learn. And like the first 45 minutes,
Of course.
we are doing the best bittul Torah of all time.
Yeah,
It's all Torah, but we're not actually getting to what we're supposed to do. And we always joke we should record our Zooms and put it out and call it the bittul Torah podcast.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
So-
Easily the best conversations are when Torah is lurking beneath.
The Yetzer Hara is like, I will do anything to get you to actually learn this.
I will make you go viral.
Yeah, you can solve world peace right now, but don't learn this piece of like. So anyway, so we're gonna value this pasuk over my little Shabbos talk. So
I'm just gonna have
Don't-
weak
don't-
Shabboses for the next few weeks until that episode comes out, but I'll get over it.
but anyways, the mamlas will have some sauce for Shabbos anyway. So let's go. Pasuk Gimel. Or would you like to read our one pasuk?
All right.
Maybe we'll get to more.
So,
Looking at the clock.
Pasuk Gimel.
Pasuk Gimel.
All right. ויברך אלוקים, and Hashem blessed את יום השביעי, the seventh day, vaykadosh oto, and he sanctified it, kivo Shabbat mikol melachto, because on that day he sat or rested from all melachot, which are the work, asher bara Elokim la'asod, that he created to do.
Amazing. So, if that sounds familiar, that's because that is the end of Kiddush, right? Those 3 psukim, the 2 that we read last week. So, the first thing Mamla says over here, it says Hashem gives this bracha to Shabbos over here in our pasuk. He says, he sanctified it by Kadesha. So, and how? What is the bracha? Like we don't really get much details. So he says there's 3 parts to this blessing, and the first part is the very famous one. I think most people have heard this. The first part of the blessing of Shabbos is that no matter what you spend on Shabbos, you'll get that money back. It's not part of your yearly allotment. Because he says, naturally speaking, Shabbos is actually taking away from your money, right? Meaning, if everyone else is working, nowadays people don't do this, but, for world history, everyone else was working 7 days a week. You were working 6. And you are spending more money on this day. When you go on vacation, you spend more money, right? You're not just not working, but you're going out to eat, right? So if anything, this Shabbos, thing that Hashem is introducing over here is a lack of blessing, right? If you think of blessing in its pure form, it's just your ability to live, your quality of life. It's bringing it down. And so he says over here, the first blessing that he's giving to it is that won't be the case, right? That even though you're working less, you will actually be more blessed over here. So if you were supposed to make $100,000 this year, and over the course of a year spend $10,000 in Shabbos, you're making 110, right? So that's the first blessing. It's very famous. It's the black card from Shemaim. Hashem's like, pimp your Shabbos out. It's on the house, right? So he actually says that this is alluded to. Or could you pull up the picture I sent you of the Mishnah from Shabbos? It's the first Mishnah in Shabbos, I believe. Just read the first line. First line for the Mishnah of Shabbos.
In Hebrew?
In Hebrew, yeah.
All right. יציאות השבת, 2 שן 4 בפנים ו2 שן 4 בחוץ.
So that's like talking about the halachos portion of it, right? Right. And the Mamlos flips it over here, and he understands it as you have the going out of Shabbos as 2 and coming in as 4. Meaning this is where he finds the double. The Mishnah is referencing the double aspect of Shabbos, that what you'll get back. Like what you spend 2 on Shabbos, you're going to get back 4. Which means he's even saying you'll actually even make money on Shabbos, right? It's going to get doubled up.
But you're spending double.
What do you mean?
You're going to cover your costs because you spend double.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, just on that,
Yes.
if I can, I think it's very interesting because last week's Parsha, Shabbos, is introduced, but it's not given to us straight up. It's not introduced, Dafka, until the Jews come and they're like, hey, what's up with double mun?
Right.
And then he's like, oh, yeah, because tomorrow you don't work. Even though Hashem told him, tell the Jews about Shabbos, he didn't say it until there was a double, like extra money to have them say, oh, this is what I'm going to spend. If you were just telling them, hey, there's going to be a day where you don't work, they're like, okay, we'll see about that. You know what I mean? But if I just first come with the check in the hand and then I say what to spend it on, I think it's, so I think that's, in a
the Mamlez does give a caveat over here that you can't spend money on Shabbos as like an investment to make money. Like if you're just doing it for the reward, like, oh, Hashem says we get it. He says that doesn't work. You won't get it. It needs to be for the love of Shabbos, and then it works. So he says that in general for all reward that's promised in the Torah. If you do it strictly for the reward, then you've broken the system. That's not the point here. But that is the first blessing. So the second blessing, and this one I think people know, but I don't think people know that it's on record. And I'm gonna reference both of these in my Shabbos talk in 2 weeks. But the second blessing is that food tastes better on Shabbos. That it actually does. Meaning that is built into Shabbos. Hashem made it that food literally, it's not just in your head, it's a fact. It's in the blessing. Food will taste better on Shabbos. And the Medrash actually tells a story about Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who of course wrote the Mishnah, that he once invited the emperor Antoninus, thank you. So he invited him to his house for Shabbos, and he served him cold food because he couldn't serve him anything hot. I don't know, must have forgot to put the cholent on, and he only had cold cuts or something. And the emperor ate them, and he's like, this food is incredible. And later on, he invited him again, but this time he invited him during the week. And the emperor's eating the food, and this time it's hot food, fresh, straight out the oven, and it's not as good. So he says to them, what's up with your food, man? Like last time I came and it was cold and it was so much better. And now it's hot, it's fresh. And, you know, tell the chef, you know, didn't like today's meal. So Rabbi Yehuda says the reason is because it's missing a special spice. It's missing a special spice that was in the first food. So he says, what is that? And he says that special spice is Shabbat. So it has to be cooked l'chvod Shabbat, and then it gets that flavor, which it would explain that even if you eat leftovers, it has a little extra something, you know, because it was still cooked l'chvod Shabbat. So there you go.
I just want to say on
Yeah.
that point, if you do go to somebody's house and the Shabbos food is not good, that means even God couldn't save it.
Or maybe they don't really keep
So-
Shabbos.
Wow.
That's brutal. Like,
No, because he actually
chicken's bad, and you're like,
you start looking around like
yeah.
sitting in the kitchen.
Yes. What were you doing? You finished cooking this 5 minutes ago. I know you did.
Because the Mamlos actually says that if a person doesn't keep Shabbos properly, it affects the food. He actually says it. He says then like he won't be able to like taste the difference. You won't be able to taste the spice.
What if they just don't know how to cook?
What? Well, okay, there's that. But they're graded on their level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm saying God is trying to make
I
it
know
taste
every
great.
Sephardi person listening to this podcast right now is like, all my Ashkenazi friends don't keep Shabbos.
I actually steak. I actually
Special spice, that's for sure.
Yeah, they don't know about any spices.
Yeah, definitely not the special one. They put special spice into all their food.
Anyways, so that's the first two. And then the third bracha that Hashem gave was that, you know, we spoke about this light that Hashem had in the beginning of the world when Hashem created the world, and he put it away, right? He didn't make it,
Yeah.
right? So this light that was put away was not actually fully put away. Turns out it was brought out for 36 hours. The last 12 hours on Friday, and then Shabbos. So that light, Hashem actually wanted to put it away, but he kept it around for Shabbos. And we actually get that light in the form of that extra neshama that we get on Shabbos, right? Neshama is the light. That's why when someone passes away, you light a light. So there is extra light on Shabbos. And that's why we have the mitzvah to light Shabbos candles, to have light. Lighting Shabbos candles is not just candles. It's not like Hanukkah. It's literal light. Like for me, I make sure to, you see these over here? I can actually point to things. That's so crazy. So I have also behind me in the kitchen and over there, I have special neon lights for Shabbos that I turn on l'chvod Shabbat. And halachically speaking, if my wife or I were to forget to light Shabbos candles, you know, there's like this gzera that you need to add Shabbos candles the rest of your life. You don't need to if you do that. If you put on electric lights l'chvod Shabbat, you did put on lights for Shabbos, meaning there's something about light on Shabbos. It's not the candle. The candle is just the source that we use. Electric lights. So what I'm telling people to do is what I'm saying right now is I would highly suggest putting on special lights for Shabbos, enhancing Shabbos, not just putting on your regular lights. Because if we're being honest, we don't appreciate our Shabbos candles the way they used to back in the day. It used to be special, and for us, it's just like this thing on the side. But if you put on like this light that I have in the kitchen or these lights on Shabbos, and you put it on in different rooms, you're actually going to feel that you have Shabbos light in your house. It's different. And also, just in case you forget, you're good. You put on light special for Shabbos. So that's like a minhag that I have based off this concept over here. So those are the...
I'm pretty sure also if you get zero hana from your Shabbos candles, it's a chashash whether it's a bracha levatala.
So you should have in mind when a woman lights Shabbos candles, she should have in mind all the electric lights in the house.
Right, but I'm
That
just saying,
way
I'm
you're
just saying
getting-
the concept. I'm not like because whatever.
I used to do this thing in the summer. I'm going to start again in the summer. The winter is like so risky. But I used to do this thing where I shut off all the lights in the house. And then right over there, Tal, my wife, and my daughter Abigail, they light together. And me, my son Eliyahu, we have all the lights turned off. And I tell her, have everything in mind. And then we go around turning on all the lights. And we say l'chvod Shabbat for each light that we turn on.
So cute.
And like I have him like doing it. And then Abigail helps out. So it's also just a cute way to like bring Shabbos in with the kids. And it's like, I haven't done it in the winter because it's been like last minute. I'm like, oh, if I forget a light over here, but B'ezrat Hashem, as we kick back up, I'm gonna start doing that again because it's really like it makes each light actually feel like Shabbat, you know.
There's one thing that I think is very interesting about Shabbat, which is its connection to shalom, where we say like Shabbat Shalom or Shalom Aleichem. Everything has to do with Shalom, and we also say the reason that we light the Shabbos candles is for Shalom Bayis. And there's a Mishnah in Uktzin. I don't know how I came across it. I haven't learned Uktzin, but
You're adding yourself.
it says, yeah. Well, no, I don't want to do the opposite, which is like, oh wow, this guy learned Uktzin. No, I didn't learn it. Relax. Where it says that nothing holds bracha better than Shalom. Nothing is machzik bracha better than Shalom. And so it's Vayavrech, as I was just thinking about it now, as we're going through it, Vayavrech Elohim Yisima Shvi'i Vayikadesh Oso, Kivo Shavas Mikol Asher Bara Elohim Asos, is like the bracha is captured in the Shalom of Shabbos that I think is present on every experiential level as you go through it. Everything has just less conflict, turmoil, you know what I mean? Even on the inside, you feel like more aligned, and there's, you know what I mean, greater continuity or, you know, congruence. So I just feel like that also might be like an expression of that bracha being so definitive of Shabbos is the Shalom. It's like seven
Yeah.
is always a whole, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I think everyone can relate to Shabbos being the epitome of Shalom. It really is.
Yeah.
And if you think about it just in terms of creation, that's what rest is. Like everything was doing the first 6 days, and then Hashem's like, all right, Shalom. Like, all right, chill out. You know, and when Mashiach comes, which is the seventh millennium of the world, what comes with that? World peace. So it's like Shabbos and Shalom, 100%.
Also,
Yeah.
in that regard, in the contrast, creativity is by nature, I feel like, very aggressive. There's something that's very like conquering about it, and there's a pull and a give and a take. Even you write something, you cross it out, you do this, like it's building and destroying, you know what I mean, all at the same time to make something. And on Shabbos we do away with all that, you know, creativity. Just be. And my favorite line, by the way, Rav Dweck, I heard it from Rav Dweck, I don't know where he got it from, if he, you know, whatever, but all week long we're human doings, and on Shabbos we're human beings.
Nice.
Nice.
Phenomenal now.
Beautiful.
I'm usually not into one-liners, but that has just so much baked into it.
So, or could you do me a favor?
Yes.
Can you just read all 3 psukim on Shabbos? Just those pasuk Aleph, Bet, and Gimel.
Okay, yeah.
Well, you have to do it with a cup like this.
Yeah, we're making kiddush over here on tea. Welcome to Tanach and Tea, where we make up our
No
own-
grapes. No grapes available.
Green grapes.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. פסוק א', ויחולו לו שמיים וארץ וכל צבעם, ויחל אלוקים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוקים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוקים לעשות.
So if you were keeping score at home, you will have heard or have mentioned 7th day 3 times, right? You have Bayom HaShvi in the beginning, then you have Bayom HaShvi in towards the middle, and then towards the end, you have Yom HaShvi again, 3 times. This is the source for having 3 meals on Shabbos. The fact that it says Yom HaShvi 3 times,
Yom, yeah.
that's, you need to do that. You need to have a meal 3 times. And by the way, if let's say you don't eat Friday night, you need to have 3 meals Shabbos day, meaning there is this 3 for men and women alike. You need to, this is where the concept of Seudah Shlishit comes from.
Best thing come in 3s.
With that being said, just before I get there, one more thing that I want to add is that Hashem gave Shabbos a special bracha, in addition to what we mentioned before, the 3 special brachos, but he almost had to give it a special bracha. Because if you remember when we were doing the astrological influences during day 4, when we were doing Wednesday, and we're talking about like Saturn and Jupiter and like the sun and the moon and the influences they put on the earth, I think one of the things, like when I taught it to my students, they were expecting like Jupiter is like life, peace, dominance, status. Venus is like desire, kindness, grace. The sun is like creativity and whatever. And like the sun is Sunday, Venus is Friday, and Jupiter, I believe, is Thursday. And then Shabbat, which is, it's called Saturn day, so it comes from Saturday,
The stoppage of time.
which is, but also like it was like death, destruction, famine, and you're like, that's the Shabbos one. So it turns out the Shabbos one is that, and that's why Hashem had to give a special bracha to Shabbos. Like it's like some fascinating, which kind of means it's catch-22 with keeping Shabbos. Then, meaning if you don't keep Shabbat, not only are you missing out on the bracha, But this is like the day of the week that Hashem has assigned like the most death and destruction towards. It's not like Sunday or Friday or Thursday, like which has like positive influences. Like Shabbos, the day of Saturn, has some pretty negative influences, and then Shabbos's bracha is there to counteract that. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Shabbos is Hashem's shechianu. You know, when you do something new, you're supposed to make a shechianu. We learn that from Shabbos, meaning Hashem made the world and then He blessed it. He made a shechianu. So Shabbos is Hashem's shechianu on the world, and we copied Hashem in that we have something new. We make a shechi on it. So with that being said, we can go back to talking about Seudah Shlishit. I just wanted to get those things across, but this is the source for Seudah Shlishit. So
I had almost a story that happened to me where I had taken a trip. I had come back, I don't know, after yeshiva one time, and like everybody knows about Seudah Shlishit, but it's not.
it's very slept on.
It's not.
It's
It's
difficult.
slept on. It was so much.
I'm
so.
very full, to tell you the truth.
By the way, the
You have
halacha
game?
says.
You got a game?
Yeah, the halacha says that Chacham einav berosho, he'll eat less during the day. I've never done that once. I just keep on stuffing it in, just pound it down. But you'll eat less in the day, so you have room to do it at night. Or some people will like they'll wash for kiddush, or they'll wash for kiddush so that it's a meal, and then they go.
Problem with that is,
I know, it's after
ideally it should be
chatzos.
after no. If for sure should be after like a half hour past chatzos,
Oh,
but
so
there's
it should be
also
after
ideally
mincha.
should be after mincha.
Yeah.
So like that trick, you know, you probably will catch the after chatzos with an or whatever it is. It's not exactly chatzos. It's a little bit after. You'll catch that with how late people usually eat their meals on Shabbos. But you won't catch
depending on the
won't
kiddush.
catch the mincha one, and ideally you should eat
Yeah.
it after mincha. But also, you could also scale down with Seudah. Ideally, it should be lechem mishnah like the other meals. The Rambam actually says you make kiddush.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
By the way, some benchers actually have a kiddush for.
every time I eat
Seudah
Seudah
Shlishit.
Shlishit, I'm like, this would be so much more awesome if I could make kiddush, because it'd make it feel more like more people would do it.
Yeah, but even kiddush of the second meal is called kiddush rabbah.
Well, Friday
Because
night
it's-
rice, like
No, that's the point. But it's
Right.
called kiddush rabbah because it's fake kiddush. So
Yeah.
you need a rabbah, so you
yeah.
want to add some juice to it.
But
make
I'm
it
saying you were saying that
you know.
people are full. You could scale down, meaning ideally it's lechem mishnah, but then there's also you just have bread, and then you could also have fruit or
Yeah.
cookies or really anything. So the truth is, it's not so difficult to like take a cookie, towards the end of Shabbos after mincha time or whatever, and go lichvot Shabbat and have a cookie. Like that's not so crazy. You know what I mean?
Especially if-
and that would count, especially if that's good. So like save a special food for Seudah Shlishit.
Who doesn't have room for a cookie?
Exactly. And then, but I just want to give the timing on that. People don't realize, but you can't actually do that after Bein Hashmasho.
Yeah, yeah.
You know the time when Shabbos starts. You're not allowed to eat after that time,
Well,
unless
you
you
started
washed.
already. Yeah.
Unless you washed,
Okay.
because that's considered starting. There's no starting on
Right.
the fruit or the cookies. You have to have eaten that before. If you wash, then you can go as late as you want. So there's an incentive to wash. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll just do the cookie. But then I'm like, there's like 3 minutes left. You know what I mean? I'm like, there's an incentive to wash just to like, clean slate.
Oh, it's real Kovea Seudah, yeah. So what I was saying though is I came, and I saw a lot of people were not doing Seudah Shlishit, to the point where I was like, is it not even like a real halacha? Like, is it just like one of those, minhagim type things? And then I ended up going back to Israel, back to yeshiva, and I like looked it up. I saw the Gemara, and it's like, no, like it's right in the Gemara, Hayom, 3 times, make a Seudah. I was like, it's so interesting. And then I'm reading right before Yom Kippur. I'm reading the essay on tshuva. It's called something tshuva by Rabbeinu Yonah. They have it at the beginning of like the Art Scrolls, whatever. So I'm just reading it, and there's one part where he says that if you're in a place where people aren't doing a mitzvah, you should say, no, dafka, I'm gonna go do the mitzvah. You know what I mean? Because I, just for Hashem, whatever. And then he gives the example. He's like, let's say you're in a place where nobody's eating Seudah Shlishit. You should go dafka, say, no, give me bread and lechem, and I'll wash on it and eat it. And I was like, right there, I don't know, it just hit me like all at once type of thing,
So since then, you've never missed it in your life.
No, I was pretty good about it anyway. But I'm saying it was just funny,
What do they say about Seudah? I always forget which one's which, but for Malava Malka versus Seudah Shlishit, which one is for Gogol Magog and which one is for like your bone, right? They say the bone over here not disintegrating for Tchias HaMesim. Have you guys heard that? I believe Seudah Shlishit is that you'll survive Gog Magog, and Malava Malka is that Tchis Mason will be easier for you. Like
What is that? The second meal?
Malava Malka would be the meal after Shabbat. Like that's an extra thing
Oh.
right here.
Like
It's
your
instituted
Melaveh Malka
by David HaMelech. David HaMelech instituted this idea of like Shabbos is over, let's eat more. But he's a dog, David HaMelech. Like,
No, he
was killing too many people to not eat more.
Yeah.
So killing people, you need a lot of calories to keep up. He's an athlete.
There is one more thing though in this pasuk that I think is at least needs to be just mentioned,
Yes.
which is the idea of Vayikadeshoso, which is the makor for kedusha, like everything about kedusha and having something be special, unique, set aside, intimate, is sourced in this space that that is this pasuk. So, it's even funny because the fact that we make kiddush on something, like, otherwise you just make a bracha for kiddush on nothing. Like, we just need a thing, so we have wine to like separate it. Maybe a little ironic because they used to drink wine like all the time. No, it was like they didn't have clean water; they drink wine. No,
I think that certain civilizations, like Rome, like in Rome, they just were just wide awake, drunk all the time.
yeah, no.
Water.
I think there's a Gemara that says like you can't daven, you can't do mincha, and then somebody says like, oh, then you can't do mincha if you're drunk, and someone's like, then we can never do mincha. Like,
Right.
There's nothing to talk about here. Right? It's
That's
done. No, but just this being the makor for kedusha and having that component in it, I think is just whatever, just worth mention.
So the Mamloaz adds two more things on the topic of Shabbos, and then we'll discuss whatever we want to discuss, and then end the pod. So two more things that he says. If you look at Pasuk Gimel over here, it ends off with saying Asher bara Elokim la'asot, which Hashem created to make. It's very interesting language. Like Hashem created
Right.
to make. Like, what does that mean? Like, okay, like it doesn't really make sense. So he explains it as follows. He says that Hashem created in the first days of creation the laws of nature. That's what he did, and there's nothing new to nature since then. So Hashem had finished what he had created to make, right? But what he didn't finish is miracles. Meaning Hashem did not pull his hand back from miracle work on the seventh day, on Shabbos. So while Hashem constantly renews creation and nature and whatever, he stopped creating to make regular things. But to make nature, to make miracles, Hashem still does. So that's what that's referencing. So yeah, that's one thing. And the last thing, when I saw this question, I was like, why have I never noticed this?
Those are the best ones.
Like the Mamlas throws a question over here, and you're gonna be like, am I even reading this book? Like it's so obvious. He says, why does Shabbos not end off with Vayer Vayivoker Yom Shvi? All 6 days end off with Vayer Vayivoker, and then the day. And Shabbos, we just read it. That's the end of the conversation. 3 psukim on Shabbos, and there's no, here's the day.
Because it's like maybe it's because it's like the stop on time. It's the rest from time. It's not meant to be counted or to make. You're not making anything.
Well, it does mention the number a lot, though.
Right, meaning it is a day, and there is a concept of it ending and rolling back around to Sunday. So like recap the day like you do every other. I don't know if that's like convincing me.
What about the light that you said? Like the 12 hours of Friday and then goes into Shabbat.
Yeah. So
no darkness.
bingo.
No,
There you go.
no-
Yeah.
Why not just Vayihi Boker?
Right.
Wow, yeah.
So anyways, so the Mamla spins it in 2 ways. It says one, just practically, there was no Erev. It's been light the whole time. And then 2 says, even if you want to say it's Erev, there's the light of Shabbos. Like even if it's not practical light, but just the spiritual light, we're not going to call it Erev. But yeah, that's essentially the answer. The answer is, yeah.
Wow.
That by you were asking how did we got on the podcast? It's from the live Tanach and Team. Whenever should we do that? I was like, when I start a podcast, you're gonna be on it. so it wouldn't be appropriate to like to say that. But I kind of like where Zach is going with this. Like just say Volker, but I guess that wouldn't be accurate.
No, it would also look
Crazy.
awkward and like
Yeah.
in your face.
Right. But anyways, when he said that question,
Yeah.
I felt like an idiot. I was like, I'm not even reading this thing. You know, like that's such like it's totally missing, and we just like glossed over it, you know. But the answer makes a lot of sense. So anything else anybody
Yeah,
wants
there's
to talk about for Shabbos?
Dafka and also the
Shabbat.
previous
I think I've
pasuk.
said Shabbos too much. I might have
Yeah,
alienated
Shabbat.
my.
I see. By the way,
really listen
I
to
see why you make or read it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds very original when you read it.
yeah, it's much nicer.
Yeah.
Ashkenazim and Americans can listen to like Sephardim and Israeli speak. It's not the other way around.
No.
No, I know. By the way, because I teach a night seder in a Syrian yeshiva, and it took me time even coming back here, like speaking, how I grew up, like because if you say, I'm like teaching the the Masechta of Tainus, but if I say Tainus, they're gonna look at me like, what are you talking?
You know, I'm not gonna lie. It took me a second to there you go, about.
No, yeah, but you're an adult. Who's not gonna like even make fun of me. They're just gonna make fun of me. Like I don't even know what. I can't learn that. There's no way that's real.
Speaking of Kiddush, every time I make Kiddush Friday night, Tal always like looks
Always
at
makes
me
fun,
like
yes.
she doesn't make fun of me necessarily because she.
On the inside, she is.
No, but she in the beginning, I'm like, you need to like look normal so I don't get distracted. I'm trying to have kavan over here, but like every time she's always like, "What did I marry?" You know, like it always sounds weird to her, you know.
You know, it's funny because the actual taf, it's actually the original sound is a th.
Yeah. All of them like also like the pay whatever.
So, anyways,
Yeah, but something that I
away.
wanted to say, is that it starts off by saying Vayichulu Hashemayim v'aretz v'chol tzavaam. God finished, and then he stopped working and took a break. But you like, if I'm in the middle of a job and I stop in the middle, I take a break, and then I keep going, I took a break. But if I just finish the work, I'm not stopping afterwards and taking a break. I'm just done with the work. Like it's
Right.
on to the next. I could chill, I could not, I could do whatever. It's done. So it says Vayichulu Hashemayim v'aretz v'chol tzavaam. He finished it, and then he took a break. And then he you know what I mean? And then he rested, like you're just done. In a similar type of question, like with Rabbi Akiva students. Like what's Lag BaOmer? Why are we celebrating? Like, oh, because they stopped dying. Like all the students stopped dying. No, they finished. There was nobody left to die.
Right.
They all died. And then why why is that a good thing? That like, oh, that's when they stopped dying.
Well, there were
No,
5 of them that survived.
No, there were
It's
5
after.
that
yeah, you got
he
5
got afterwards. That was like from a 0 and then came again.
Oh,
But yeah, so like even just the idea of Vayishbos, after everything was already finished, it should just be like Vayishan, he went to sleep, you know? I guess in like a real hard stop, not just like, oh, I took a break, just to get back into it.
so the idea that one thing that I've heard is that he wasn't really done. He just decided to finish. Kind of like when someone's writing a book. I think I've said this on the other
We spoke about it on
previous
we
episodes.
spoke about
Yeah.
this concept in the last episode. which-
got published somewhere.
Yeah, basically, like if you're writing a book, there's so many perfections you can make to it, right? Like even in this podcast, there was probably a lot of things that we probably could have added or could have done differently, but then the episode will never get released. You have to put a period at the end of a sentence.
You're saying
So
almost
it's more that I think you can make the argument that like Hashem put a stop to it. You know, I mean, because that's why, like, Goyim, when they work 7 days a week, they're just constantly immersed. Imagine just Wall Street just being open 7 days a week, you know?
it's crazy.
Like,
I really am looking like, what is
Imagine being on your phone 7 days a week. I don't know what I'd do.
what did you do? Did you never do it?
What do you mean?
Were you never on your phone on Shabbat in your life?
Baruch Hashem, no.
wow,
That's a great guy.
that's amazing.
Same. Never gave it a shot.
Anyway,
So this yeah, no, that is an interesting thing. It's also interesting what is. It's actually, I guess, an interesting idea because I heard not even long ago somebody was talking about the idea of kol, because kol doesn't necessarily mean actually everything. Like somebody knows, kol Torah kula, like he knows all of Torah.
You can't.
You cannot know all of Torah, but there's something about the entirety of it that you have, right? Something about all of it is expressed in whatever has been made, even if it's not literally everything, because of course it's not done, right? There's still
there's a whole Torah to be done and written and finished, and stories and everything that we're still doing here.
Speaking
Talking
of,
this
we
game.
really got to wrap up this podcast. we got to Yom HaShvi this thing.
We got you got to finish and then and take a break.
Yeah, Vayechulu podcast.
Yeah. Do you want to end on your Shabbos
No, I'm gonna
sauce?
like the song or the freedom from freedom thing.
The freedom for freedom?
I'm gonna save it
You're
for
gonna
next
save it?
time. It's too much to just stash at the end of an episode.
So I'll say one,
Yeah.
unless anybody wants to. There's one thing that I find fascinating about Shabbos, which is the fact that it is the greatest example. Like they say about, Shabbos is like you go on a boat. If you prepare food before, you have what to eat on the boat. Where you don't prepare food, you won't have to eat on the boat. And that's what Shabbos is. You prepare food before Shabbos, then you can eat on Shabbos. You don't prepare food before Shabbos, you have nothing. And I think it's so experientially true through the week. You have a strong, good week. You put a time aside for learning. You put time aside for, healthy, habits. You're doing the right thing. Shabbos is 1,000 times what it is for a week that you just like vegged out and chilled and really wasn't pushing so hard and didn't do it. It is exactly like, it's not Shabbos, it's Vayichul Hashemayim v'aretz v'chol tzava'am, and then there's Shvi. It's not the first day. It's the culmination of 6 days of Malacha, and that's also why I think every day of the week when we say the Shir Shel Yom, it's Hayom Yom Rishon of Shabbos, Hayom Sheni of Shabbos, because that is the goal at the end of the day. And yet there's a contrasting component, which is that it's the only mitzvah in the Torah which is described as a gift given to Moshe Rabbeinu. He said,
You are touching on what I'm going to go next. But everyone listen to this before we're done, gonna incorporate a lot of this into it.
I know I saw this actually in a Seudah Shalom. So it's the only not the whole just this this point, but that is the only mitzvah that's Hashem says, I have something in the Ginsei HaMelech, the king's treasury that I'm going to come out. And it's presented as a gift. Now a gift feels like the exact opposite of the thing that you earn, right? A gift is like not about what you did or whatever, a birthday gift or what I mean. You can get a gift because you did something also, but that's not how it's presented. It feels like something, extra, like I just really wanted you to have this, which feels like not what Shabbos is. And I feel like that is in many ways almost that extra layer of the beauty of Shabbos, is that at the end of the day, even if you didn't like really push through 6 days, you still do get Shabbos. Like the 7th day does happen and it does pick you up and it does help you, like, get it together for the next week and create that separation. And
to throw mushroom on what you're saying, I think what you're saying is like if you're on a team and you're like the best guy on the team and you win the championship, you still get to celebrate the championship and it feels the same even if you were the guy on the bench not doing nothing. Now that's not true in the mushroom, but for Shabbos it's a gift in that it is true. Like you're riding the bench the whole time and you still get the championship feeling.
You still get a ring.
Yeah, but I'm saying the people who get a ring like Lemais, if you were to ask them to be honest, they're not feeling what like the main guy's feeling. Like they're just not, like they're along for the ride. But for Shabbos, you do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think also in that way, Shabbos has that duality of both being the culmination of your week and also the thing that like gets you into your next week. The thing that's like, it's somehow, it's like both all at the same time. It's got that thing, wrapped up in it. Also, it always has that, duality of.
Shabbos is literally just duality, everything.
No, it is. Everything about it is a
Shomer
duality. Shomer Zacher and whatever. So I think that it's a good day. I like it also. I would even say, by the way, and I'm going to coin this term, it's the best day. That's what I would say right there. You heard it here first. Zach in Israel is my handle. Finally get the chance to pick up the mic because it's pretty much over. But best day. And if you hear somebody talk about that afterwards,
should I play the full song right now? Yes or no?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
I think anybody's running out of here.
Because now the people are gonna hear me rap. Which is
Oh no, we lost that guy.
All right, so that ends the podcast. The light is like, come on, guys, I can't handle this anymore. All right, Zach, thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure to
My
have you.
pleasure. Thanks so much for for having me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like talk just like you're sleeping here tonight. So like, all right,
Yeah, right.